All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome to this second edition of Blake and Nick's weekly discussion on the Green Bay Packers. So this is basically a series where we're going to try to do it weekly, or as much as we can at least, and cover all things Packers. So right now we're kind of in the middle of free agency and trade season, so we have those items on the docket. And the first one is – this would be a trade, and this one would be pretty insane. So basically, the Patriots have said they're willing to trade Stephon Gilmore, and teams are aware that he's on the trade market. He's 31, coming off a big injury. He won Defense Player of the Year in 2019. Bump and run Gilmore is his name, so you can tell by that he's playing man coverage mainly, which is what we do a lot of. And the asking price is a first-round pick. He has one more year on his contract. He's getting paid $7 million next season, and then he wants a big contract. So, Nick, do you think the Packers should trade for Stephon Gilmore? And if so, would you be willing to give up a first-rounder, or what would you be willing to trade?
All right. So we've talked about in the past. We have Jair Alexander, one of the best corners in the league. He was second-team All-Pro. He could have been first-team All-Pro. Very, very good cornerback, but he needs some help on the other side of the field. The defense just needs help stopping the pass. That is a threat that the Packers cannot handle in the playoffs right now. And Stephon Gilmore, obviously, probably the best, definitely a top three, probably the best cornerback in the NFL, definitely the best in the AFC. And yeah, he'd be a very, very good addition for the Green Bay Packers. Now, the asking price of a first-round pick for a cornerback, that's pretty interesting. I don't know very many quarterbacks that have been traded for a first-round pick in the past. But I think the Packers should think about it, and if not a first-rounder, second.
Okay, so here's something that's interesting is right before his rookie deal ended, Jaylen Ramsey, entering his prime, got traded for 2 firsts from the Jags to the Rams. And that's kind of been the last big trade in the cornerback realm that we've seen, right?
Yeah.
The only issue that so I think we should do it. The first rounder would be interesting. If we had to trade a first this year, I still think I would do it. I mean, it would signal we're going all in. We know that Rodgers' career is he's getting up there in age. We don't know how much longer his arm's going to be good. But if you use a first-rounder on Gilmore, you're not going to get much. You're not going to get anyone better than him in the draft at that position. That's one.
And you brought up Jalen Ramsey, and so I remember when he was on the Jaguars, he had A.J. Bouye on the other side of the field, and that was a very good duo. A.J. Bouye actually allowed 0 touchdowns in that last season that they were together because A.J. Bouye could have been a corner one. So if Alexander and Gilmore were on the same team, I could see one of them allowing 0 touchdowns because they can both are very capable of holding a wide receiver 1 to 0 touchdowns. They're most likely going to hold a wide receiver 2 or less touchdowns the whole season. So maybe a first round is worth it. And yeah, that's the win now mentality that we're looking for.
Yeah. But the only issue with this that I could see is he is going to turn 31. So he's up there in age. We would have to pay him handsomely. And one thing with our roster construction, we'll get to this later, but we have a lot of money invested in the top people. And if we bring on another person that we have to pay, that leaves Rodgers, Zadarius Smith, Devontae Adams, Jair, and Stephon Gilmore. Those guys would all be making top 5 money at their positions. And that's typically in the NFL not the best way to build your team. I think you can look at the Cowboys for that right now, and all their money, 80% of their money is invested in the top 6 or 7 guys. And at least for us, our guys perform at that level. For them, not necessarily. But yeah, typically the NFL is not about, getting the best of the best and just paying them. You got to find cheap guys, and the first round's the best to do that. So that would be the only issue with mine is if we did trade a first, we're getting older, which, yeah, that'd be win now, but it just depends on their timeline with Rodgers. And do they want to do that and go more win now and start trading for him? Or maybe they trade a second and they just use him as a 1-year rental, and then he goes and gets paid somewhere else, and we get a third round compensatory pick. But that's a question they got to ask. So you don't want to trade a first. Would you trade like a second this year, or second and mid-round picks, a second and a player?
I'd trade a second this year and then maybe a second the following year or a third the following year. So give
Okay.
them 2 picks, one from this year, one from next year, because we still do need help right now for our team. We were 2 games away from being Super Bowl champions. You said the Cowboys, they pay their top players a lot of money, but they're not 2 games away. We're 2 games away. If we can go out and if we pay the players we have now a lot of money and we just have what we've had around them and just 1 or 2 more big additions, top players at their position, top 5 players, then we're ready to win the Super Bowl right now this season.
Mhm.
And there's not much time left with Aaron Rodgers. We got to get it done now. So, yeah, we can give up 2 picks.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be fine. I could convince myself to enjoy trading a first, knowing that Stephon Gilmore is going to be opposite Alexander. And then here's the other thing: is that would basically say they're not signing King. Now there hasn't been too much in the media, I feel like, about Kevin King, contract situation at least. We know Chandon Sullivan's probably back. He's our nickel, but that could still be an area of upgrade. So yeah, it's like they have to do something at cornerback, and he would be the best possible option, possibly in the whole league, like we've mentioned. So being able to get him would be insane. But yeah, his cap hit's not crazy next year. I think the main issue is he did get injured too. At the very end, I think it was a partially torn quad or something with his quad that kept him out the last few games. So again, he will be turning 31. So age is important to look at when you're thinking of Stephon Gilmore. Do you have any more thoughts on this?
Yeah, I want to go back. You said Kevin King. Not a lot of people are talking about him for the Packers, but I want to say they're also not talking about him going to any team really right now. Like he's
Exactly.
not being talked about at all. And I think that's a good thing for the Packers because that means we could sign him for cheap later. So if we go out and try to get one of these big free agents and we don't succeed, Kevin King will probably still be there for us. And we can just Packers fans don't really like him right now because he's kind of how we lost the NFC Championship. A lot of people are saying he allowed a few touchdowns. But if we're getting him for cheap, he's not terrible. He was playing injured. He'll be healthy. And when he's healthy, he's a good, solid cornerback too.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, if they keep the first and then just say, all right, we're going to bring you back for like 2 years, Kevin King. Maybe there's not a lot of guarantees just because of his injury concerns. And he has left a sour taste in pretty much everyone's mouth who watched him play his last game. But yeah, as a cornerback too, like, you can't really complain too much. Like, he definitely has his ups and he has his downs, but I'd say it's better than what we've had in the past. And he's not going to be the worst starter on our defense, basically, at the end of the day. And that's important.
Yeah.
All right. And now, moving off of the trades and into more free agency. So there's been a lot of receivers that have been signed already. Nelson Aguilar, Curtis Samuel just got signed. Tons of other dudes.
AJ Green just went to the Cardinals.
Yeah, AJ Green, Corey Davis. So there's been a ton of dudes that have got signed, but this is still a need for the Packers. I feel like it's been this way for the last 3 off seasons, but
in a while.
Yeah. But anyway, there's still good receivers to be had, and for not that much, and we can create cap space with some more restructures because we've been doing that a ton this offseason. But who would be the number one receiver right now if you were given the choice out of this group that we could realistically, the Green Bay Packers, sign?
All right. So you named a lot of wide receivers that have been signed this offseason, but there's still a lot left. There are a lot of wide receiver free agents this offseason, and I think the Packers should go for John Brown. John Brown, he was the number 2 wide receiver on the Bills. Stephon Diggs was probably the best, like a top 3 receiver in the league this last year. And John Brown, he still had a pretty good year. He was kind of streaky. He'd have some big games and some low games, but overall he stayed solid. He was a solid wide receiver. And if Aaron Rodgers is throwing it, Josh Allen's a great quarterback. I love Josh Allen. But Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback right now. He was the MVP. And if he's throwing the ball, John Brown is the wide receiver 2 across the field from Davante Adams. That'll be the best wide receiver duo we've had since Jordy and Davante were playing together. And that's another weapon for Aaron Rodgers. I would really like to come to Green Bay, John Brown.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. So 2019, he pops off for like 1,000 yards, and he was the wide receiver one at that point. Did really well, and then they trade for Stephon Diggs. He's a top 5 receiver now, or played that way at least, without getting injured. John Brown did get injured though, and I think that's one of the big issues or reasons why he got cut is he really couldn't stay on the field that much. And the Bills had Gabriel Davis, the rookie, come on. Cole Beasley somehow got voted to an All-Pro. He's a really good slot receiver. And so they didn't really need him. He was more of a cap casualty than like, this guy's not a good guy, like not a good receiver, but he's a little smaller, but he's a burner, right? Like he can get down the field, and that would be huge. So I think he would.
He can catch the ball.
Yes.
I like that he can catch the ball.
Yeah, so he would fill the role of MVS and basically be the downfield guy. I would really like that, honestly. And I don't think he would be too crazy expensive either. Like the receivers have been going for really not and John Brown's a little older than those guys. I don't think he would go for as much as an Aguilar or any of those guys. I think he'd probably go for like 7 to 9, 10, maybe million. So he'd be a little cheaper. And if they did,
the Patriots paid Aguilar a lot of money, and personally, I think if any other of the 31 NFL teams did that besides Bill Belichick, I'm pretty sure they'd be getting a lot of hate for signing Nelson Aguilar for that much money. But because of the Patriots, just kind of just gone aside.
He was good last year, though. I mean,
yeah, but he's solid. He's been terrible in the past.
Yeah, he's had struggles, but
he's not worth $13 million.
Yeah, that's a lot, but they had money to spend. So, John Brown, though, yeah, basically, like he would definitely be our number 2 overall weapons wise. I'd see him being the 3rd or 4th. Depending on where I'd say Aaron Jones would probably be 2. Tanyan.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not wide receiver weapon, but.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is definitely, and Tanyan's probably ahead of him.
Yeah, but him as a 4th option would be insane. I mean, if you think about it, 2 years ago, he was the number 1 option on a team, had over 1,000 yards. And Aaron Rodgers' arm is maybe not as good as Allen's, but it's right there.
His consistency is way better, though. His accuracy.
Yeah. So I like John Brown. And then here's the other guy I want to get your thoughts on. So we were actually in talks to trade for him. He had PEDs during the year. He played really well when he was healthy. He had his best year in 2020. Will Fuller, former Houston Texan. Would you be interested in signing him at all or no?
I would. He gets injured a lot. And first of all, the PEDs, like, he thought they were legal for the NFL. He wasn't trying to enhance his performance, but obviously still bad. But I would be good with Will Fuller as long as we can keep him healthy. That's very important. I've said in the past that the Packers can get to the postseason by themselves. They can get that first-round bye. They need people to get them through the postseason. And Will Fuller might not be there if he gets injured, but he could also maybe he won't get injured. Maybe he won't have a major injury again. He's just been very injury in the past, but he's a fast wide receiver. He can catch the ball and he can score touchdowns. He's a guy who would get a 150-yard game with 2 touchdowns occasionally because he is very explosive. So, yes, of course I'd be happy with Will Fuller. And, yes, he has been rumored to go to the Packers for a long time now, it feels like.
Yes. So, with the injuries, here's his basically how many games he's played. He's played 13, and 7, 11, and 11. And then in his last year, so the 13 was 2016. But this past year, he averaged 80 yards a game with Watson. Really played well. Like, he was healthy, and he wouldn't be the number 1 option again. And I think if you remember, when he played with Hopkins, I think it was Deshaun Watson's rookie year. He had like 11 catches, and 7 of those were touchdowns at one point. Every time he'd catch the ball, it'd be a touchdown.
He's, like I say, he's very explosive.
Yeah, no, he's a burner. I would honestly love him on the team. I know they were going to trade like a 2nd or a 3rd for him, and now he's in free agency. Maybe the PEDs will lower his price, hopefully. And I think this is a no-brainer. I get the injury concerns. Like, that would be the only negative about this in my mind. Like, as a player, yeah, the PEDs doesn't, like, worry me too much. I don't think he was, like, genuinely trying to, like, juice up or anything. So that's not a big concern. It's more of the injuries. But I would be cool paying, like, $8 to $9 million for him for maybe, like, 2 years. Yeah, again, guarantees for him just because he's injury prone hopefully would be lower, but that would be a good option. So again, he would be a number 2, fill the role of our burner in our offense. And I think he'd be a pretty big improvement over MVS. I think him and John Brown both would be pretty big improvements in that regard. How much would you feel comfortable paying either of these guys?
I have them both at $9 million. I think per year, I think $9 million is a good spot for them. AJ Green just went for 8.5 to the Cardinals. I have these two guys at $9 million. It's a good price for a wide receiver too. I think $9 million is a good deal.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. So John Brown and Will Fuller, hopefully the Packers sign them. They should sign at least one of them, bolster the offense for the next couple years. And then the next topic we got is going to be Aaron Rodgers. I think everyone's favorite offseason topic, the quarterback dilemma in Green Bay. Is Rodgers' cap hit an issue this year or in the coming years? And we could talk about his restructure later, but what do you think about his cap hits as of now? So what they are, so this year it's going to be $37 million with $31 million dead cap. 2022 is going to be $39 million cap hit, $17 million dead, and then 2023 is $28 million, a little under $3 million in dead cap. What are your thoughts on this?
So I've talked about in the past how I'm a big Aaron Rodgers guy, and I think he should stay in Green Bay till he's done playing. And Jordan Love, like, if he sticks around with us, great. If he doesn't, oh well, we wasted a pick. But so I know he has the largest cap hit in the NFL this year, Aaron Rodgers does, but I don't think it's too big of an issue because we're going out to win this year, and we're going to build around that. And in the past, I know, well, just history has shown that when a roster has most of their salary, or not most, but a big percentage of their salary on the quarterback, they usually don't do well as a team. But this is Aaron Rodgers. He was MVP. He was the best quarterback in the NFL, and that's enough if you can get a few weapons around him to win the championship. So I'm not too worried about the cap hit this year. I'm not too worried about next year. And even 3 years from now, I'm not too worried about Aaron Rodgers' cap hit.
Okay, so I guess I'm a little different than you. This year, I'm not too concerned, right? I think this is like our all-in year. And they can restructure him to push a little more down the road if
Yeah, you said it's very low, and the cap hit was low in 2023.
Yeah, so if they did restructure, it would get spread across his contract. So it would.
Then you'd have to finish though. Well, or hurt us.
Yeah, it would just become all guaranteed. So here's my only issue with it, right? Next year is $39 million. There hasn't been a quarterback that's, I think it's 12% is the amount. No quarterback has won a Super Bowl getting paid over 12%. It's either been a rookie contract or Tom Brady, who usually goes for like market value. And usually when a quarterback gets a new contract, they set the market. His has usually been underneath that threshold. So the $39 million is worrying to me because they're going to have to sign Jair to at least $20 million a year when he gets paid. And you got to pay him. Like, that is like, without
we got to keep him around for a long time.
I think Za'Darius will get paid as well. And then Devontae Adams. Now, those extensions free up money in this year if they all happen now. But in the future, they're going to be a lot. And rightfully so. They're really good players at their positions. But $39 million for one player in the NFL, it almost doesn't matter how good you are. It becomes an issue when you're building a roster and one guy's taking up.
They're the best, though. They're the best.
They are the best. I agree.
The best.
I agree. Now, this depends on how much the cap will be next year. It's going to jump a lot. Right? We
It
already know.
should, because of COVID, it went down, and when fans come back, it should go back up a lot.
Yeah, and if there's another game, that'll boost it too and all that.
I think there will be another game. I think even this year there's going to be another game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So let's say it's like 220 million. That's a lot. That's almost 40 million.
35 million more. Yeah.
Yeah. If Rodgers, you can round up, so $40 million for Rodgers. Over 220 million is a little bit under 20%. I'd say it's probably
18%.
Okay.
18%.
18%. 18% of the cap to one player. That's honestly brutal when you're making a team.
You said that no quarterbacks won 12%, but no teams won at their home stadium. Tom Brady just did that. There's only been 50 Super Bowls. It can happen. It can happen.
Well, that's more down to luck and not team. I mean, that doesn't matter. The bottom line is paying a quarterback a lot can become a problem. And I don't think it'll be an issue this year, but I don't think it'll be too big of a problem next year either. But I am worried, like, I get it. It's Aaron Rodgers. He is the best quarterback in the league. I think he's been the best for, you can argue, however, like the past decade, if you wanted to argue that. And you'd have a strong case. But there comes a point where paying a quarterback becomes too much. Would you agree with that or no?
There's a point, but I don't think we're there. I think he's earned what he's being paid. I think we have the weapons around him still. Like, they're there. We're talking about these free agents. We can afford them. We can get them. And we can win with two more weapons, an offensive weapon and defensive weapon. We're so close. We're right there.
I mean, but the other teams are just as close as us. The Buccaneers they've just stayed the same. They're going to add more people. I mean, that's the issue, right? Like, Josh Allen is getting paid nothing.
The Chiefs aren't. They're going the wrong way.
Okay, the Chiefs are going the wrong way. Yes. But Mahomes got paid, and he's only going to get paid more.
Who do you think's our biggest threat besides the Buccaneers in the NFC right now? Because I don't think there's really anyone else there right now. Drew Brees just retired. The Saints are gone.
Saints are gone. The Rams.
It'll be interesting. The Rams will be a very interesting team.
Yeah, they just got Stafford, and
we've been needing Stafford for years.
Yeah, we've been seeing Stafford with Matt Patricia and Jim Caldwell, not Sean McVay. There's a difference. All right, the bottom line here is $39 million is a lot for one quarterback, and I know he's the best. I get that. I will tell you, yeah, he's the best. Like, no second doubts for me. But like, there comes a point where there's a line where if he gets paid over this amount, like, or over a certain amount, it becomes somewhat of a problem for our team. Do you think he's close to that, or like, what would that line be to you?
I don't think there's a problem right now where he is, and we're not gonna pay him more. It's not gonna. Those numbers you read aren't gonna go up.
Next year's probably will. If he restructures, it will. It'll be lower this year, which is good. But...
Okay, so I have a different question.
Sure.
The Buccaneers just won the Super Bowl, obviously, and then they they extended Tom Brady. They brought back other weapons. They're going for it again. Do you think if the Packers win this year, it works? They sign all these people to 1-year deals and it pays off. Do you think they're going to go for it again, or do you think they're going to be like, all right, we did it. Now let's restart and go again?
No, I mean, they would obviously go for it again, but we have to get to that point first.
I think this is a year. This is the year. We got it.
And then here's the other part. So we've discussed this a little in the past, but they can restructure his contract, kick the can down the road, make it guaranteed spread across his contract, save about $14 million. And that would help us get like to be under the cap, so where we're not like in a penalty zone, but we could still maybe sign a guy. Should we restructure all of that amount or just some of it?
So how much did you say we can restructure up to?
We can get $14 million in this current year.
I think we see. So like, let's say we go get one of those wide receivers we talked about, then we are probably going to need to restructure. If we get a wide receiver and a cornerback, I think we have to restructure all of it. If we get one of them, I think we'll have to do a majority of it, but not all of it. and then we'll get the other weapon in a draft. And I really hope this doesn't happen, but if we don't get a wide receiver or a cornerback in free agency, then we probably don't really have to restructure much at all. But I don't want to talk about that. I want both.
Yeah, we have to get at least one. Like,
we do need at least one, and hopefully both.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my thing. Like, I love Aaron Rodgers, but this whole quarterback contract thing's got me in like kind of a thought process. Like, there comes a point where you need a cheap quarterback, no matter how good the highest paid is. But you can't like also get rid of Rodgers. Like,
well, right now to win with Rodgers, we said we need a cornerback and a wide receiver. If we were with Love right now, we'd need a lot more than that.
Or we'd have a lot more money.
We would, but
we'd have a lot of money.
I'd rather be 2 weapons away that we can get right now than what we'd have to do with Love. Love, that's 5. We didn't need 4 or 5 more years.
I don't know. I feel like we're more than just 2 things away. Like, our O-line still needs help. It got abused, and it's not going to get any better.
Well, we were just talking about the Packers were just talking with a center today, and it looks like the Patriots center might come to the Packers from free agency, and I don't think that's going to be very expensive at all.
David Andrews?
Yes.
He'd be expensive.
I
he
don't
was
know.
really good. He was really good center. I don't think it'd be Lindsley, but he would be pretty expensive.
Well, yeah, it would be, but he'd be cheaper than last year. What we were paying a center?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing though. Like, with Rodgers or Russell Wilson or any of these other good quarterbacks that are getting paid top of the top, Matt Ryan, when you do pay them, like, yeah, your team will be more stable. You'll have more success. I'm not going to deny that at all. You will be more successful, but there gets to a point where it hurts because you can't get a quarterback that's cheap, that's like 80% as good as them, and then you can load your roster with talent because you have all this cap space. Like, think of what the Ravens have done over the past 2 years. Think of how many guys they've signed or traded for because Lamar's cheap. That's what the Packers would be doing.
We're farther than the Ravens, though.
We are. Yeah. No, that's the thing. Like, you'll get farther in general, but there becomes a point where, like, that quarterback, like the cheap Mahomes, the cheap Josh Allen, the cheap Burrow, the cheap Herbert, those cheap guys are like almost better to have because then you can just sign a bunch of dudes and just load.
A cheap Mahomes, yes. I'd rather have an expensive Aaron Rodgers than a cheap Burrow, though.
I mean, you can't. I feel like you can't compare the situations yet. Like, Burrow's behind the.
He got injured.
He's behind the bottom 3 line in the league. Like, he's behind some Swiss cheese. Let's put it that way. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. Any final thoughts on Rodgers cap?
I think I got out my thoughts on Rodgers cap.
All right. So yeah, bottom line, he gets paid a lot. He's really good. I'm concerned slightly about next year with him getting paid $40 million. I think in the end we'll be fine though, especially if we win this year or next year. It is not going to matter at that point, but I am concerned on our roster building abilities with his cap hit. But that's going to wrap this episode up. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you guys can be back next week for more Packers free agency, draft, hopefully a trade for Stephon Gilmore, and much more.
Yeah, maybe next time we see you, we'll be talking about a new.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Gilmore.